Hello. Today I'm going to talk about food. Is that making your mouth watery? And most specifically, Indian food, one of my favorite topics. And I'm going to talk about food and the cultural influences on Indian food. To me, a delicious meal is a source of immense pleasure. It seduces the senses. And an aromatic, deliciously prepared, spicy, hot Indian meal does just that. I read somewhere that Indian cuisine is ranked 4th in the world after the French, the Italian, and the Chinese cuisines in terms of evoking gourmet pleasure. But it's not always been the case. 4 centuries back, when Babur, the Mughal emperor, invaded India, said that the Indian food was terrible. He called it awful. But today, it is ranked 4th, and it is one of the most popular cuisines of the world. Indian cuisine has gone through many transformations. The story or the tale of Indian cuisine is a delectable and aromatic tale of invasions and cultural influences. So what is the first thing that comes to mind when you think of Indian food? Hot and spicy, right? And what is the main ingredient you associate Indian cooking with? Chilies, lots and lots of chilies. Yet surprisingly, the chili was brought to India by the Portuguese in 1498, when they settled to the western part of India in Goa. Prior to that, no Indian had cooked with chili. The hottest ingredient in a local dish was the pepper. In fact, almost every well-known Indian dish is a product of a long history of invasions and fusion of different food cultures. Invaders and settlers, be it the Portuguese or the British or the Mughals, or even the Chinese settlers or the Afghan traders, each have brought with them their own cooking styles, their own ingredients, incorporated, mixed with the local dish over the centuries to bring about this beautiful cuisine of India, which we know today. So it is the product of India's long history of invasions. Take the chili. When I was about 5, I used to watch my grandmother eat, always bite into 3 or 4 green chilies with all her meals. She would have a couple of chilies always at the side of her plate. I still do it. Many Indians still do it. She was a widow, and she was not permitted to eat meat, fish, garlic, onions, any of this hot, sensuous food. So most of the days, her staple food was boiled food. And her favorite was mashed potatoes, tempered with mustard oil, mixed with rice, and eaten with a lot of green chilies. So she would spice up her most basic and staple food with chili. Chili, in terms of keeping millions of people fed, cannot be compared to, say, rice or potatoes. But it provides spice to the most basic and the most poorest food in India. So be it in the rich households or the poor households or the slums of Mumbai, every household would share a bowl of green chilies with their simple or even majestic meals. Mother Jaffrey, who's a renowned Indian author and cook, once remarked, "Once we develop a taste for hot food, it gives you a high. It is a source, it turns into a craving. It is not only a conqueror, but chili is more than that. It is a seducer. And this seducer has seduced an entire nation, a culinary culture, a cooking style, and became part and parcel of Indian cooking, and it was not even indigenous to India." So you walk into an Indian restaurant you want to order an authentic Indian meal. So you order a Vindaloo, a biryani, a chicken korma, chicken tikka masala, naan, bread, mulak soup, chai. You end it with chai. All these food have evolved into the cuisine of India, but has never been traditionally, fundamentally Indian dishes. Take the Vindaloo, which is a very hot and spicy Indian dish. But the Vindaloo is basically an adaptation of a Portuguese dish called carne de vinho al bos, and pardon my pronunciation, which basically means meat cooked in garlic and vinegar. So when the Portuguese came to India, they discovered two things. Indians did not eat a lot of meat, and they did not have vinegar. And the Portuguese loved their meat and loved to cook their meat in vinegar. They discovered that the Indians had a similar sour-hot combination in tamarind and black pepper. They solved the problem of manufacturing vinegar by using coconut toddy, which made them give a little high too. This, combined with the local tamarind and black pepper combination, satisfied the Portuguese cooks. Now the Indian cooks combined vinegar, tamarind, black pepper, put in a lot of chilies because they started to love chilies, and made it into a fiery taste, and voila, the Vindaloo was discovered. So the Goan cooks, by incorporating Portuguese cooking techniques to their own, unknowingly created a confluence of culinary cultures, 2, even 3 cultures. Now, as you tuck into your Vindaloo, the server brings in an aromatic, delicately layered meat and rice dish called the Biryani. A huge favorite to most of you, I guess. By the time the Mughals invaded India in 1526, the chilies have become a part and parcel of local cooking. Every Indian household was cooking with chilies. The Mughals brought with them a number of their Persian cooks, because remember, they said Indian food was terrible, so they wanted their own Persian cooks. At that time, the crowning glory of Persian cooking was the rice and meat dish called the rice pulao. They taught the Indian cooks the art of layering meat and rice and the art of marinating meat in yogurt. The Indian cooks taught the Persian cooks how to incorporate spices and the hot and pungent flavors of Indian cooking. So the synthesis of Persian with Indian cooking happened in the kitchens of the Mughal emperors. The delicately flavored Persian pulao and the layering technique, combined with marinating the meat in yogurt, combined with the spicy and hot and pungent flavors of India, brought about the classic biryani. The two mismatched culinary cultures came together to produce a synthesis of recipes combining food of North India, Persia, Central Asia, to be known as Mughal cuisine and outside Indian cuisine. It is said that the national food of Britain is not Yorkshire pudding and roast beef and boiled cabbage, but actually the curry and the chicken tikka masala. The curry, they have the beef curry, the korma curry, the vegetable curry, all sorts of curry. And the curry is actually imposed on the food culture by the British, who termed any generic, it was a generic term for any dish that was hot and spicy and gravy. So that was curry to them. But no self-respecting Indian would combine would name their dishes in an all-encompassing word as a curry. In fact, the derivation of a name of an Indian dish is derived from the cooking techniques. So a chicken braised in yogurt and made with cream and yogurt would be a chicken korma and not korma curry. But a chicken made with spices and lots of onions would be chicken do pyaza, which basically means chicken cooked in pyaz, which is Hindi word for onions. Unlike the Persian cooks who synthesized the cooking methods of two cultures, the Indian cooks of the British rulers gradually simplified and altered their own recipes to suit the British tastes. Take the mulligatawny soup. A British general in South India, he wanted his Indian cook to serve soup in his in the table. The nearest thing to a soup that the Indian cook at that time had was rasam, which was a tamarind, black pepper, water broth. So he creatively added rice, little meat, little vegetables, lots of spices, and served to the British general, who just loved it. The Indian word was mulutani. He asked the Indian cook, and he said, it's mulutani. British general distorted it and called it mulligatawny soup, which is known worldwide, and you guys have mulligatawny soup. The story of the chicken tikka masala is basically, it's an Indian dish invented in Britain. It's a combination of Indian spices, tandoori chicken, a can of Devonshire cream, tomato, Campbell tomato paste, and all combined together to produce the chicken tikka masala, or even butter chicken, which is served worldwide, all invented in Britain. So invasions, various settlers, and even globalization all contributed to changing the food in India. You know, the biggest, hottest selling lunch food in India is now Hakka noodles, Manchurian, and chicken chow mein, and it's part of the Indian street food culture too. And this has been brought about by the Chinese settlers. Indians love to combine soy sauce, chili sauce to produce local homegrown Chinese food known as Manchurian, chili chicken, and Hakka noodles. And I must tell you that the Chinese food you get in India is the best in the world. So throughout history, India has been invaded and occupied by other cultures, and each has left their own mark on India's cuisine, India's food, and cooking techniques. So remember, the next time you swelteringly have that spicy and aromatic and lovely hot Indian food, authentic Indian food, that authenticity has come through synthesis of various culinary cultural influences by the various conquerors to India and their own cooks. Thank you so much. I hope I didn't make you feel hungry after that. Thank you.